Welcome everybody to today's workshop. Some of y'all are owners and carrying the whole business on your back. Some of you are ops managers or team leads, the ones in the trenches, making sure that the ship actually sails. And some of you are here because you're stepping into bigger leadership shoes. Um, I think right now we can all agree that leading sometimes feels like that scene from Dodgeball. If you've seen the movie Dodgeball, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Except in property management, it's not really wrenches. Sometimes it is, but it's owners' emails, tenant complaints, late fees, maintenance emergencies. They're all flying at you, and you're standing there like, what? And then the chaos just smacks you in the face. But here's the good news. Today, it's not about piling on theory or more busy work. I'm actually going to give you a playbook. So instead of playing defense or dodging wrenches, you start running offense. You're going to leave here today with tools you can use this week so that you stop being the crutch for your team and start building a team that you actually trust. I'm gonna ask you guys a couple of times to participate when it comes to the workshop. It's not going to be much, but it will be important. So stay tuned for that. And what we're going to cover today, super exciting. How to protect your time with what I call the leadership protection plan, creating clarity and accountability. Who sometimes has a hard challenging time with keeping team members accountable. I know that I hear that a lot in coaching calls, and it's frustrating. So I'm going to show you how to solve that today. Show you how to build problem solvers with the 1-3-1 framework, and ultimately shift your team from being task doers to outcome owners. Right now, business owners a lot of times are walking around with a backpack full of everyone else's problems. And what we're going to start doing to what we're going to do today is we're going to start pulling out those heavy rocks that don't belong there, and making things easier for you and run smoother. So here's where we start. Protecting your leadership energy. Every time that you jump in to solve something that your team could have handled, you're actually training them to keep leaning on you. It's kind of like it's enablement, right? Um, if you've ever felt like a human fire extinguisher, drop something in the comments because you're not alone. Most of us have. I mean, firefighting, these are words that I hear on a weekly basis. Uh, Something important to remember here is that leadership is not addition, it's subtraction. Think about, if you have an iPhone, think of your iPhone battery. Every time that you solve something for someone, you still have another 17 apps running in the background. So by 2 p.m., you're at 10% and you got no charger in sight. It's drive-by communication. If you're familiar with that term, sometimes we get hit with drive-by communication with our team members saying, "Hey, I got a quick question. I got a quick question." I can't tell you how many times I hear that, and it's so frustrating, right? It's like, I got a quick question. And this is why I want you to build your leadership protection list. I'm actually going to take you guys now, and I'm going to share. Delia, if you can share the link in the chat, and y'all go to the chat. I'm going to share the visual of what is in the chat. And let me see here. Come on, Jay. Click share. And boom, boom. All right. So this is what you'll be seeing in a Google Doc when you click on that link in the chat. And like it says, please make a copy. Do not edit. There's not many places where you'll need to write in here. But if you're at a computer, go to File in the top left and click on Make a Copy, and then that is your version. You can do whatever you want with it. Okay. But we're going to focus on this leadership protection plan first, because think about it this way. You have to first protect yourself, um, even in your personal life. I was discussing this with one of my team members earlier today in a one-on-one with them on how these concepts can apply in our personal life. So when we think of leadership protection plan, you can also relate it to protecting your mindset, right? Like having boundaries. And when you have those boundaries, um, and then we would move on to concept two, the weekly one-on-ones, where we're asking great questions. So you set these boundaries and have a plan, and then you ask yourself these questions, and then you come to the framework of identifying, all right, out of these possible solutions, what is the right solution? What do we need to do? Um, so leadership is about subtraction, removing yourself from those tasks so you can focus on coaching, clarity, growth. You've experienced this, right? You're reopening work orders yourself, chasing late fees or missed deadlines, and you don't want to be doing these things. People constantly interrupting you, those quick questions, things that they could figure out, but your team needs to feel empowered in order to figure it out. They need to have this permission to know that, hey, I want you to be an autonomous team member. I want you to be an outcome owner. So think about yesterday or today, whatever, right? I mean, how many times did someone come to you with something that they could have handled? And think of an example. Okay. And if you have an example handy, go ahead, drop one in the chat. Lewis, 15 times today. Yeah, I know. This this is compounding. Um, what's one of those things, Lewis, that you can think of that someone came to you on that they could have solved? When we're not protecting ourselves, we're sending the message that when you get stuck on something, come to me and I will give you the answer, rather than asking a better question of how would you handle that situation? How would you do this? Right. So write down an example. Okay. Tenant needing adjustment on rent for no AC and respond to email and adjust based on math. Yeah, this is something that a team member should be able to handle, an individual. It doesn't require a business owner to step in and solve the problem, right? So go ahead and write down 3 to 5 tasks that don't require your leadership skill set. So you have an example, right? Everybody can think of an example here. We have another one: resident complaining about a scheduled inspection, and the team member didn't know how to handle the reschedule or if they should even reschedule. The tenant has large dogs. This is something that doesn't have to happen anymore. These types of issues, if you follow this framework that we're covering today, they won't have to happen, right? This is the framework to protect you. So go ahead and write down on your sheet of paper or in the Google Doc that you made a copy of, write down 3 to 5 tasks that don't require your leadership skill set. Things that are out of those 15 things that Lewis mentioned earlier, right? 3 to 5 things that could be handled by your team if they had the right clarity or authority. And a lot of times it's about creating the authority or autonomy, empowerment, whatever word that you want to use. That's the first step. They need to know that they have permission, and then the clarity will come even more when we dive into the one-on-ones. And just remember here, this isn't a not my job type of situation, because if you guys are anything like me, own the outcome as business owners or leaders. So we don't want anyone thinking that we're too good to do something. So you don't have to frame it that way. It doesn't have to be a this isn't my job, but rather it's just not the best use of your leadership, right? And that's what this leadership protection plan is all about. And this is step one. And once you name what's stealing your energy, then the next step is making sure that it doesn't land back on your plate again. And that's where the one-on-ones come into play. So I am going to share my screen for the one-on-ones. We go back to those slides here real quick. All right. And now you should be able to see the leadership protection and now the weekly one-on-one slide here. So weekly one-on-ones, they're non-negotiable. This is the first rule, okay? Non-negotiable. It has to be a weekly rhythm, same time, every week, 30 minutes. Ideally, when you have a new team member that starts, when you onboard them, in your very first meeting, you should schedule the weekly one-on-ones with them and put it in the calendar, invite them to it, and have it as a recurring meeting. Same time. I have coaching clients that I know are on this call right now, and you're like, yeah, Jay, you told me to do that, right? It's a great habit. It's a great habit. If you're already doing that, drop something in the chat. But it's empowering to feel, it's empowering to have that on the calendar and to know that they want to know that they get that time with you every week, but also you get to know that it's your engine and it keeps trust, clarity, and accountability, and it reduces that drive-by communication, death by drive-by communication. Um, Without the weekly one-on-ones, your week is really just those drive-bys and interruptions. Oh well, I met with Jose for a couple of hours the other day, training him on something. So that was our one-on-one. Well, no, that wasn't your one-on-one. You spent 2 hours training Jose, but was that necessary? Which is a whole nother topic. But that's not a one-on-one. When you have structured one-on-ones in place, you create this home base where issues get surfaced and they get solved in a structured way. Intentionality. Intention is such a powerful word. It really is. It was one of my words of the year last year. I chose 3 words, and intention was one of them. Having more intention in what I do and how I live my life and how I run my business. And when we can lead in a way for our team where we're leading with intention, they're going to pick up on that. You can think of one-on-ones like oil changes. Skip them, and then your whole engine just starts falling apart and grinding. But when you do them consistently, everything just runs so much smoother. I can tell you, I used to skip one-on-ones. Because, and maybe you guys feel the same way, because I quote unquote didn't have the time. And what I found is that it's that time that when I invest that weekly with my team members, then I don't get pulled in other directions and I don't have to waste my time doing other things. And then also my team can operate in a more successful and autonomous way, right? It's empowering. There's this check engine light that this will pause that check engine light, right? So let's go back to the handout, and we're going to go to some top one-on-one questions. So let me share something else there. Boom. All right. So I should just be sharing now this. So I'm getting the hang of this thing. All right. Here we go. Yeah. You would think after what 5 years of COVID, I would, you know, feel like I already had good control over Zoom, but these things change all the time. Weekly one-on-ones. So 30 minutes, same time each week, non-negotiable, right? This is what we're talking about. Reduces the drive-by communication and those random interruptions, builds leadership thinking in your team, creates clarity and accountability, strengthens trust and connection. And now I'm going to give you just 10 one-on-one questions that, these are just examples. And we'll come up with some other examples. If you have a good example, if you're doing one-on-ones and you had a good question that you've used recently, drop it in the chat. Let other people benefit from your success. So sometimes I'll start off with opening like, where do you feel you need the most support right now? And what does that do? That helps identify a problem area. It helps identify and get to the root of, hey, this is what is troubling this person. So let's talk about it. Um, and when you ask great questions, people feel a deeper connection to you. They have a stronger desire to excel and to just do a great job and to be part of a cohesive team. What's going well? What's been a challenge this week? We want to focus on wins, not just problems. What's a win? Tell me what's going really well in life. And you know what you're going to find is that you're going to hear not just work stuff, but you're going to hear um, personal wins. But you'll also hear, and I know my team's on here, and don't worry, guys, I'm not going to talk about anything personal on this call, but we talk about a lot of personal things. And, it opens up the conversation, and it really just does. It reinforces that trust. And when you talk about these personal things, right? Everything personal that we experience, it affects how we show up in life and at work. So when you're talking about personal issues or just, personal wins, you're also connecting the dots as to why that might be affecting what they're doing. Because how many times do we and maybe you don't do this now, but maybe at one point in life you did. But how many times do we jump to a conclusion, like if someone's not performing, like, oh, well, they're doing this, they're stealing time, or they just don't care, or they're not the right fit. Well, don't jump to conclusions. If you slow down and you start asking better questions, then you're going to start getting the right answers and not just hypothesizing. Leadership development, right? If you were in my shoes, how would you handle that? Because your team member might come to you and they might say in your one-on-one, how do I handle schedule, like one of the examples from earlier, scheduling an inspection, um, because I don't know if I should reschedule this because they have dogs or not do it, right? But if you were to turn that around and just say, hey, if you were in my shoes, how would you handle that? Right? Get what's one decision that you're proud of and one that you would do differently. Like, this is a great thought provoking question. Someone will tell you about a win, and you're able to also understand, like, okay, this is what they're framing as a win when they make this type of decision. And when you ask them, what would you do differently about this other situation? So let's say that, using Randy's example before, if they handled the adjustment on the rent for the no AC, if they handled that wrong, like if they would have handled it differently, which, by the way, I want you to encourage uh, mistakes and setbacks with your team because it's going to happen and you're going to have to be okay with it. But they're going to learn from those things. That's what this is about. What's one that you do differently? So your team member won't necessarily think about like what they would do differently in a situation, but when you ask them that question, they do. Problem solving and ownership, what's your biggest challenge right now? What's 3 solutions that you've considered? Have you held anything back because you thought you should handle it yourself? Growth and initiative, what's one skill or area? This is helping to develop them as leaders if they want to, because you have some team members that they might be your maintenance coordinator for the next 15 years, and that might be fantastic. So, there's nothing wrong with that. But then you have other team members who are growth minded and they want to see a path, right? A path of that where they can help in a bigger way. They can contribute in a bigger way to your company and to the people that you serve. And maybe that's going from a leasing specialist to an integrator. Maybe they have strong operations experience where they can take on more of a leadership role. But you want to ask them those questions. And again, a weekly one-on-one, it gives you the format to do that. This isn't going to be perfect right out the gate. It's an art and a science. So you figure it out of what questions to ask when, but having questions to get you started is the right next step. Let's see. What feedback do you have from me as your leader? I really like that one. You don't necessarily have to ask that if you have an open door and you guys really trust each other already, because they're already giving you that feedback probably. How can I better support you? That's a really good question. Is there anything going on in your personal life? Like we talked about that before, there's different ways of going about that question. But you can ask that directly if that's a relationship that you have with your team as well. So here's the exercise for your one-on-one. Review your leadership protection list, right? So the tasks that you had just wrote down that other people could handle. Pick one challenge from there and write a one-on-one question that could coach your team member to solve it instead of you. So out of the things that we spoke about, the different questions, the different problems, what's on your leadership protection list, write down one question that you can ask that will help you coach your team member to solve that instead of you. Instead of you. That's my high inflection point. Instead of you. Sorry. You guys can't see me, so I thought that would be that's fun for me. Circle 2-3 questions that you'll commit to asking every week. So find a couple of questions on this list here, and go ahead and circle 2 questions that you'll ask every week. Your role in the 30 minutes is not to give answers, okay? You're not there to problem solve, and they're not going to come with, hey, how do I do this? And it's not a training session. It's to coach your team to think, own, and lead. Because even with one-on-ones, people are going to keep coming to you to fix things, right? It's just going to happen. But that's where the third part of this workshop comes into place, which is your 1-3-1s. So I'm going to share that screen now, and we're going to go into the 1-3-1 framework. The 1-3-1 framework was introduced to me by one of my coaching clients who borrowed it, I'm sure, from someone else. And I really like it. It's simple, and simple is best, right? because it's a concept that people can understand. There's a problem and three potential solutions, and then one recommendation. And the reason why I love this is because if your team only brings you problems, then you're the answer machine, and that doesn't scale. So we have to solve for that. We have to solve for how to solve the problem. The 1-3-1 rule fixes that. Instead of dumping the problem on you, they show up and they're saying, well, here's the issue. Here's three ways that we could fix it. And here's one that I think is best. This is what I recommend and why. Think of the difference like this, right? It's you're getting tossed a grenade and now you're holding it, trying not to blow up, but because they're throwing this problem at you. But with the 1-3-1, they actually hand you a blueprint to diffuse it. Calmly, safely done, right? It's like I don't want someone coming to me and just giving me this problem that I need to solve. Although that's our natural go-to as leaders, we want to solve problems. We want to make things better, which is fantastic, but it doesn't work well in this situation. The way to solve it is to help your team get to a place where they can own the outcome. Every time you use this framework, you're going to break that dependency trap and start building ownership. Start building ownership, having your team own the outcome. So let's go to the worksheet and let's go to the to that part. All right. So if you have your worksheets open, let's go to that 1-3-1 problem solving framework, right? So you don't have to be the answer machine. One problem, define the issue. Three solutions, explore the options. One recommendation, make a call. Here's a simple example. Resident keeps reopening the same maintenance request. Well, you could, right? I mean, let's think logically. There's only so many things that you could do. You could send the vendor back with a checklist. You could, I mean, there's probably a ton of different solutions, right? I mean, there's probably, 10, maybe 15, who knows? But the three best solutions: assign a new vendor, call the resident directly to confirm the issue is resolved, right? Well, in this situation, right, assign a new vendor. And that's what they came up with. And then if they give you that 1-3-1, well, you can just ask them, why did you choose that? Tell me more, right? So you're digging deeper and you're helping coach them to become a better team member, a better, dare I say, instrument, right? A better tool for your company. At the same time, right? This is we're dealing with human beings, and we have to help them become the best version of themselves. And that's our primary job, in my opinion, is to build a team that can own the outcome when we are not there. We had I was informed this morning that one of our consulting clients, I don't think she's on here, Janet Fields, she was in our foundation consulting program and she had some problems that she needed to solve. And shortly, I think it was just within a couple of months of us digging in with her, these team related issues, she was able to solve those problems. And she's now in our Freedom Mastermind group, which essentially means that 80% of her time is not working in the business. So she has the freedom to decide because she's built a self-managing team. That's the result. That's what we're looking for, is to have a self-managing team. And a self-managing team can only exist if your team asks themselves good questions. Because what do you do as the business owner or the leader? What do? You ask yourself questions. How will this affect the outcome, right? You think, you have critical thinking skills that you walk yourself through, and this is the skill that we want our team to sharpen. What's one problem your team brought to you recently? Write that down. Write that down here. And then what are three possible solutions? And then circle one of them. Again, it trains your team to think strategically, not just reactively, having intention about a situation, right? Doing critical thinking, not just reacting to situations, because reacting to situations sucks. Like if somebody comes asks you, what should I do? The worst thing you can do is just give them the answer. That's just enablement. And we know this, but we're stuck in the weeds sometimes and we don't naturally come to that conclusion, right? But when you combine these tools, when you have the leadership protection, the weekly one-on-ones, and the 1-3-1 framework, that's when you create this shift from task doers to outcome owners. Task doers to outcome owners. And owning the outcome is what's going to move your business forward. Okay? Owning the outcome is what's going to move your business forward. It's the transformation that we're looking for. A task doer waits for direction, checks boxes, and then circles back when they're stuck. And this is the way that people used to think about, and some people still do, think about remote team members, or as the term we don't like to use, virtual assistants. Because previously, before we entered the market in property management, because we do direct hire remote team member placement, that's one of the things that we do here. People would think of VAs as task doers. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Right. Just checking boxes and then circling back when they're stuck. Well, that's just waiting to give you problems, right? It doesn't scale. But being outcome focused, if your team has clarity on the outcome, there's a really good book. I think it's popular. Vision Driven Leadership. I had read that a couple weeks ago, and one of the takeaways that I had from it, probably the biggest takeaway, is that there's whatever vision it is, whether it's the vision for the company or a vision with a project that you're working towards, there has to be clarity. People need to understand it. They need to understand the why it's important and have clarity on the outcome. That's what, being outcome focused. An outcome owner, they anticipate, they solve, and they deliver results without you standing over them. Think about building IKEA furniture. A task doer, they're going to call you every 5 minutes. Where does this screw go? Right? What goes next? But by the end, you've basically built the dresser. An outcome owner, they send you a picture of the dresser when it's done. And they say, by the way, I reinforced the drawers so they don't wobble. Which one scales? The second one, right? When they own the outcome, the person who builds that dresser nice and sturdy, reinforces it because they're thinking critically. They're thinking about the outcome. They're bought in. When we talk about everyone rowing in the same direction, right? Having a team that is all rowing the boat in the same direction, that's only possible when your team understands the outcome that you guys are focused on. So here's the bridge, right? The three tools that we work through are what's going to get you there. The leadership protection plan, it stops you from being a crutch. Weekly one-on-ones create trust and accountability. And the 1-3-1 that trains your team to think like leaders. When you have those in place, the shift from task doers to outcome owners happens naturally. Think of one person on your team, okay? One person on your team, and just ask yourself, is this person a box checker or a chess player? These three tools is how you move them from one column to the other. But here's the hard part, right? Let's get real for a second. You now have these three powerful tools, okay? You have the leadership protection plan, weekly one-on-ones, the 1-3-1 framework. And if you use them, they'll absolutely change the way that your team shows up. But the hard truth is that tools alone don't change anything. It's like buying a gym membership, right? Might make you feel great because, you have the gym membership, you took that first step, but if you don't go, it's not going to do anything for you. If you buy a treadmill and you have it at the house, right? It doesn't give you make you physically fit if it's just sitting in there holding laundry or collecting dust. Execution's the hard part, right? Super hard. And in property management, that's where most people get stuck. Why? Because the chaos doesn't take a vacation, people. We know this. The tenants don't stop calling, owners don't stop emailing, and maintenance requests, maintenance emergencies, well, those don't happen at super convenient times. And if you found a way, by the way, to solve all those problems in isolation, let me know, because we would love that magic sauce. But we know that doesn't stop, right? That's why people hire us. That constant whirlwind, it just makes it too easy to fall back into old habits, solving everything yourself, being the crutch, carrying the whole team, right? It's not leadership, that's firefighting. And the tools without action, they're just I guess what we could call shelf help. Shelf help, right? A little play on words there. So the question is, do you know what to do? And yes, you do. But the real question is, who's going to help you stay consistent when things get crazy? And this is where the Who Crew comes in. Who Crew is our coaching and mastermind community. We have some Who Crew members on this call, built specifically for property managers who are tired of doing it all themselves. It's not theory. It's not about giving you more things to do, but it's about giving you the structure, the accountability, the support to actually follow through. So your team steps up and you can step back and the business grows without you burning out, because that burnout is real. And the best part, you don't have to figure it out in isolation, right? You're surrounded by other owners and leaders who are in it, and they're fighting the same fight as you are. And they're also committed to building teams that own the outcome. So let's see what it looks like in practice. Twice a month, we get together for live group coaching calls. Not boring webinars that you just sit through and listen. They're interactive. We get into real challenges that you're facing right now. And whether it's a team member that's not taking ownership, or an owner bypassing your process, or a system that keeps breaking, on these calls, you'll walk away with practical answers you can apply the same week. Instead of just stewing on a problem for weeks or months, you bring it to the group, you get coaching, fix it immediately. I mean, that's the power of the Who Crew. It's the power of community. So here's what makes the Who Crew different from anything else. We don't just skim the surface. Each of the bi-weekly calls is dedicated to one focus area, one pillar of property management business. So you can actually go deep and solve problems. One call, it's would be team, and that topic could be, for example, how to stop being the crutch and actually hold people accountable. Or another call might be on systems, on how to simplify processes so that things don't keep breaking. Or profit, fee implementation, the proper fee implementation. We went over one of those, I think about a month ago. Matthew led that one and was super powerful. Um, and then of course, like we cover growth, because scale and property management business, without the right foundation, it's just like building a skyscraper on a pile of sand. So we rotate through these every 2 weeks. And it's like, think of working out. If you ever trained your arms, if you only trained your arms, your body's going to be out of balance. So we make sure that you don't have a lopsided business. Just think about what one mistake costs you. A single misrenewal that could be thousands of dollars, or a turnover handled wrong, litigation. I was talking to a prospect the other day, and she had $100,000 litigation that just popped up because of a mistake, that not a mistake, but it was something that a team member was involved in, and it was an issue that cost her a lot of money. The biweekly coaching calls alone are worth at least $2,000. Exclusive mastermind groups. So beyond the coaching calls, we have mastermind groups, and you and a team member have a mastermind, and you can be part of two different masterminds. The different masterminds that we have Foundation. I talked about this earlier, Foundation to Freedom. Those are only for business owners. We have a BDM mastermind, an integrator mastermind, and even an AI focused mastermind, which is what I love. I love talking and helping people on AI to become more efficient. And you're surrounded by people that are dealing with the same problems that you're trying to solve right now. That's the power of the masterminds. You combine the coaching calls with the masterminds, you get nearly $4,000 in value just there. But we know that inspiration fades without structure and accountability. So we give you both. We have on-demand courses, tools, resources. But let me tell you something more important than the dollar value is the speed, right? We have all of the courses, tools, resources, everything that we teach in our consulting programs, we're putting out as quickly as we can in easily digestible video content and resources that are available to you. And we do that. We have a private community and an app. So it's not just being in another Facebook group where, people are just venting about the issues that they're dealing with, and then there's never any follow-up. This is a group of your peers, people that get it just like you. Just some of the people that are part of the program or have been part of the program, right? Teams that used to rely on their owner for every decision, or leaders who are drowning in tasks, businesses that were stuck at 300 doors, right? That 250 to 300 door mark is a big bottleneck, and it's hard to get past that. It's hard to get to the 500 plus club. And we help people do that, right? So huge value there. So this is one of our secret weapons, and I just found out today some super exciting news. So Betty Who is an AI powered coach that we've been working on for about a year now. And she is incredible. The vision that we've had is initially to create her to help teams document their policies, so that your team would have now a tool. Instead of you being the answering machine, you can just say, ask Betty, right? Because Betty will have all of the knowledge for your company, and she'll actually help you document it. And the exciting news is I just found out from one of my team members, who, by the way, is owning the outcome of creating Betty Who, our AI powered coach. And this is not something that I knew that would be within her wheelhouse when we first spoke, but by asking her questions in one-on-ones, and by having that trust-based leadership, she's like, hey, I would love to take that on, and I could just crush it. And I was like, okay, good, let's go. Betty will help you document your policies. She is already currently a BDM coach, so you can use her as well. She's only available for members of the Who crew, and she's included. She's your team's go-to for answer. This is the only training that your team's gonna need to do. You just train your team, go ask Betty, right? Or think of it, think of the answer, go ask Betty, right? Free access to Betty Who, huge value there. And because I mentioned this before, but because we know like your change is not going to happen alone, and we want you to level up your team, you can invite one of your key team members to be in the program with you, no additional cost. So you can have your integrator, you can have your operations manager, your BDM, any key team player, any key team member that you can have access to in the Who crew. Growth seekers, stuck owners, vision builders, honestly, anywhere you are in your property management business. If you want more, if you want to grow, if you want support and accountability, then this is absolutely the thing to you, the thing for you. So, um, how much longer are you willing to operate the way that you do right now? If you have issues that you're trying to solve, if you want to get answers quicker, if you want to grow a self-managing team, you've seen the frameworks, you know what works, and only thing to decide is when you're going to take that next step. So the Who Crew is group coaching and masterminds that is only $497 a month. But if you sign up today and today only, we'll give you 50% off your first month. And you just use that code right there. And Betty Who is included. And I'm not sure how long Betty is going to be included for. We're not launching her to the general public this year, but come January 2026, she might be available to the rest of the property management industry. So this will give you the opportunity to utilize Betty, to have the bi-weekly coaching calls focused on one core leadership topic at a time, to be involved in a mastermind community of operators who get it, to help level up your another key team member on your team, to have access to the resources and get those answers quickly. It's not a cost, it's an investment. So this is a no-brainer. I would go ahead, if you're not part of our group already, if you're not part of the Who crew, I would sign up today. It is literally almost zero risk. That's how confident we are in our programs, and we'd love to have you. If you have any questions, no, that's a good question, Dady. There's no committed time frame, so you can be in the Who crew for a month and then cancel after a month if you don't feel like you're getting value. We're so confident that you will feel tremendous value. You'll experience tremendous value. We're so confident of that because it happens time and time and time again. My business partner and I, Matthew, we've been doing this property management, coaching, consulting, remote team member placement for over a decade now together. We have a team of, I think, 21 people now. And yeah, we're focused on dialing in these programs and getting transformations. So that is the goal, to help you transform your property management company to achieve the growth that you're looking for. Whatever questions you have, feel free to ask them. We'd love to have you in the program if you're the right fit. And yeah, any questions that you guys have, just feel free to ask. Otherwise, I expect every single one of you that is in here that is not a current member of the Who crew to sign up for this no-brainer. And we look forward to having you in the program. Any questions on the workshop? Any questions on the workshop? Feel free to either leave your questions below, or you can unmute yourself and ask any questions from the workshop that you might have. All right. I am going to stop sharing. Here we go. Guys, see, I really exist. I'm really still here. So, mm. Any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. If you're if not, if no other questions about the Who Crew or on the workshop, then today's Wednesday. Happy Hump Day, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks for stopping by, and feel free to shoot us an email with any comments or anything that you would like next, in the form of webinars or workshops. We're happy to deliver these to you guys. Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.